Hello and welcome Infiniteers, this is James from iHeartInfinity.com, and today we'll be taking a look at Boba Fett, the Master Mandalorian Bounty Hunter. So let's go ahead and talk about Boba Fett's background. He first appeared in not The Empire Strikes Back, that was actually his second appearance. His first appearance was in Star Wars: A Holiday Special, which was an animated movie that came out on television between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. And yes, somehow, despite better judgment, it is actually still considered part of canon, even the Disney canon. Now, he did, of course, then go on to appear in Empire Strikes Back, which made him one of the most popular characters in the saga, despite having like 3 lines in the entire movie. And then he would go on to appear in Return of the Jedi, where he would apparently die in the Sarlacc pit. However, a recent book called Aftermath came out and strongly suggests that he is not, in fact, dead. He also appeared in the second prequel movie, Attack of the Clones, as a child, or actually a child clone of Jango Fett. I won't go into that whole mess here, though. And of course, we still don't know if he's going to appear in The Force Awakens or not, which is an interesting conundrum because when I'm recording this, The Force Awakens hasn't come out yet, but by the time we release this on our YouTube channel, it will have come out and that question will have been answered. But if you have seen it, please don't spoil it for people who haven't. And next up, let's talk about compatibility. Boba Fett is, of course, a Disney Infinity 3.0 character, which means he only works in 3.0 at present. He does not work in 1.0 or 2.0. He should be future compatible, so he will work in 4.0 whenever that is released. In terms of playsets, he's usable in all 3 of the Star Wars playsets, Force Awakens, Twilight of the Republic, and Rise Against the Empire. Now, in all 3 of those, you have to get a crossover coin before you can use him. At the time I'm recording this, we have the videos up for Rise Against the Empire and Twilight of the Republic, and the Force Awakens video will be coming very soon. And alright, let's go ahead and talk about his gameplay now. And if I was going to sum him up in a very quick sentence, I would call him a glass cannon. If you don't know what that is, that's a character who does a lot of damage, but isn't very good at taking the damage in return. So even though Boba Fett's main attack is a melee attack, you don't really want to get in close with him, because he's going to get the snot kicked out of him, especially if he's fighting in a big group. However, if you engage your enemies at range and use your second attack, which is his blaster, you're going to do a ton of damage and not face too much risk. In addition to that, you can hold down his primary attack button and he will shoot a rocket, which also has the added benefit of breaking blocks as well. And then his special attack is another variant on the rocket attack where he'll launch one into the air, and if you've upgraded it, it will kind of break into a couple pieces, otherwise it'll just attack a single enemy and blow up. Sometimes it also seems to glitch where it'll explode almost immediately upon launch, which is a waste and normally does not do too much damage, so be careful when using it. Now, because Boba Fett is not much of a melee attacker, it's actually fairly hard to pull off his combo move. If you can pull it off, it's pretty easy. It's just a simple 3-part combo like that, just there. And then his finisher, to conclude it, is pretty awesome. He'll grapple a guy in, pull them in, attach a grenade to them, push them away, and then they explode. If you can pull it off, it's pretty cool, but actually getting it to work is not always the easiest, especially if you're in a group. And lastly, he does have his grappling hook, which you can use to pull enemies in, Scorpion style, and it kind of replaces a force pull that a lot of the Jedi have. The downside to all this, of course, is, as I referenced before, the fact that he has very low armor, and he tends to go down very quickly if he takes hits. So your best bet with him is to use a kind of hit-and-run tactic or a fighting retreat style of combat. And if you can maintain that, if you can stay away from the enemies, he will destroy enemies in large numbers, especially with his blaster, which does crazy amounts of damage. His melee is average at best. You're not going to take too many enemies down, even when it's fully upgraded. So if you're looking at the skills tree, I would definitely be focusing on his ranged attack skills. Now, on top of all of his combat abilities, he does also have the ability to fly, but only in the toy box mode. If you're playing him in the Star Wars playsets, then his flight becomes a hover, kind of like you're seeing here in this Urban Brawl gameplay, because the flight's been disabled, or at least restricted. This was done for play balancing reasons. The playsets are not designed for flying characters, and he would totally destroy the level design, especially since he's the only flying character in them. So they restricted it in that, but gave him flight everywhere else, which is a pretty decent compromise. Now I'm going to kind of split off here for a moment and talk about the figure of Boba Fett, because when he was first announced and shown off, a lot of people were wondering, why is his armor blue? Traditionally, Boba Fett is known with the green armor, which is what he had in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which is where most people know him from. However, as I mentioned before, Empire Strikes Back wasn't actually his first appearance. His first appearance was the Holiday Special, and in the Holiday Special, his armor was blue. And that by itself probably wouldn't actually have meant anything, except for the fact that when the first toys were being made, the guys who made the Boba Fett toy, I think it was Kenner, gave him the blue armor and not the green armor. So people who grew up with the old toys played with Boba Fett wearing blue armor. Now, a lot of the Disney Infinity team are just those people. They grew up with the old Kenner figurines, and they remember Boba Fett with the blue armor. Hence, they decided he would have the blue armor. And of course, Disney and Lucasfilms and all them had a say in this as well. This was not done in a vacuum. So it was approved by Disney. But if you're wondering why he's wearing blue instead of his iconic green, well, there you go. And also, maybe, if he is in The Force Awakens, maybe he's going back to that blue armor? Don't know. Entirely possible. It certainly would be a good reason for them to push forward with the blue armor design in the game. That is total speculation on my part. I have no insider knowledge at all. Just taking a wild guess here. And now, at the time I'm reviewing this, the Boba Fett figure is only available in the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 Saga Edition of the Star Wars Starter Set. So if you already have Disney Infinity 3.0 and you're looking to get Boba Fett, it's not worth it. Don't buy the whole starter set for it. He will be getting an individual release, though, in early 2016, and when he comes out, he is absolutely worth your time, especially if you are a fan of his. Just be aware that he takes a little bit more finesse to use than you might have initially expected. And that wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want, because we are producing more of these all the time. Thanks for watching.